Hey, it's all with a preliminary guide to powering up in the Legion remix. I'm not going to get too deep into the details. This is kind of an overview of the grinds you should expect to experience. This is considered an advanced guide too, and by that, I'm going to assume that you've played through the Mist of Pandaria remix in the past, and preferably you've dipped your toes into the Legion remix on the PTR and you're just comparing notes. A more robust guide will release shortly before the patch and at the start of the remix. Please like this video if it's helpful, subscribe for more WoW coverage, and catch me where I'm live. There are three parts we're going to cover: leveling, knowledge gaining, and gearing up to an item level of 740. But no matter where you're at in the remix, Eternus dailies are your first stop each day. From here you get power, you get bronze and experience bonuses, and you work towards some sweet cosmetics. You always want to be in a state where you run out of dailies to do. When leveling, especially solo, I don't recommend Heroic World Tier. It can be brutal with surprisingly fast deaths, and if you're trying to level fast, the risk and overall longer time it takes to defeat mobs isn't worth the bonus loot or experience. While leveling, I suggest knocking out several tasks at once and work towards upping your infinite knowledge stat. This is the multiplier that helps you gain more infinite power from sources. The earlier this is up, the better. But you also want to keep in mind that not all knowledge will be available during this first phase. More will come as more content is released in phases. So this incentivizes you to earn all the available knowledge in each phase to max your gains. Anyway, I suggest doing the main story quest for each zone, including dungeon quests to level. This covers a lot of ground, including knowledge from completing the Phase 1 dungeons, and opens up other side quests needed later for knowledge. The very start of the remix might be a bad time to try doing more difficult dungeons and raids while leveling, unless you receive a quest to do these and there's nothing else you can complete. The risk is too great when people are still leveling and powering up, and just like Heroic World Tier, you don't want to slow yourself down. Later phases, of course, we should expect people blasting while others chase. Now, I should also point out though that it's not really worth looting trash in raids or dungeons either. They only drop a pitiful amount of bronze at the moment. The good stuff comes from bosses. For artifacts, while leveling, I mostly suggest using the Twisted Crusade tree. In its current state, the ability is a huge nuke for mowing down packs, and it has traits that deal considerable damage. It's my favorite, but the Grove tree up top is also a solid pick because its early trait deals direct damage as opposed to a percentage of yours, which might not be that high, and it offers some good defensive bonuses too. You can equip accessories to add bonuses to traits and get access to other traits that aren't on your tree. The potency of these traits are based on stats, and this means if you see accessories with traits you like, don't replace them unless you find the same trait at a higher item level because hey, you get some extra stamina. There are a few traits I suggest holding on to depending on your playstyle. Brewing Storm and Storm Surge lets you move while casting. Volatile Magics, Churning Waters, Souls of Akaw, and Lights of Vengeance are solid random damage procs useful while leveling. High Mountain's Fortitude is also a solid defensive pick that doesn't require any extra thinking. Accessory quality, as in common, rare, and epic, that determines the number of bonus ranks on a trait up to 3. If you happen to run into an epic piece while leveling, definitely hold on to those and only replace it with an equivalent epic. Gearing and upping your item level is pretty straightforward. It's going to come from these infinite caches from completing quests, and world quests, and dailies. As you earn more gear, the item level of these drops will naturally go up. Once you reach max level, the behavior remains the same, but with a twist. You'll start earning these tokens that turn into epic gear when you have 10 of these, and these follow the same rules of slowly rising in item level. In so few words, you'll be farming boxes and bosses and climbing this mountain of gear till you hit a maximum item level of 740. So your objective is to earn many of these quickly, and there are different approaches to take if going solo or in a group, or you'll do both anyway. Completing all the side quests on the Broken Isles will score you a ton of boxes because virtually any quest turn-in gives you one, and you'll be working towards raising your infinite knowledge too. Now is also a good time to test the waters and hop into Heroic World Tier because empowered mobs have a good chance of dropping these items as well. When doing endgame and especially group content, you'll start seeing another new token called Fragmented Mementos, where collecting enough of these earns you a whole ton of infinite power. You only need to use the item, and on the PTR there's no carry limit, so if this turns out to be a thing, I'm going to suggest to keep holding on to these for as long as you can until you're able to reach a very high level of infinite knowledge, or even cap it out. Eventually, you'll run through your one-time quests, at least during this phase, leaving you with a few dailies and world quests, grinding Heroic World Tier, or doing group content. Choose the thing that suits your mood best, but there's only really one rule to this: don't stop. Back during the Mists of Pandaria remix, I farmed a part of Fear Trash for hours and hours. The equivalent in the Legion remix would be finding a good spawn of mobs in Heroic World tier and just blasting away, but thankfully there's a lot more structure with the dailies and just more options to farm up power. During this first phase, it feels much more important to work on item level as opposed to farming infinite power. The gains from gear are just too great to get distracted by anything else, and it's not like you're not gaining infinite power while doing this. It will be possible for you to start soloing instance content kind of early on, but just like the Mists of Pandaria remix, people weren't soloing Mythic Siege of Orgrimmar in the first week, and in the Legion remix, there are 2 of these raids in the first phase, and there's Mythic Plus to really test people's limits far beyond what Mists offered. If you're grouping though, other people will more than make up for the lack of throughput early on, so like a 2 or 3 man group should handle dungeons with very little trouble, and a full group shouldn't be necessary for like normal or even heroic raids. Bit of a spoiler though, the endgame of endgame in the Legion remix will in fact be Mythic Plus at a certain level. At the end of the day, you only get so much out of Heroic World tier. Standard dungeons and raid content have a lockout, unlike Mythic Plus, which you can keep doing over and over and over again as long as you have a key that you want to do. Right now in the PTR, clearing a very high level key will score you over 100 of these fragmented mementos, which can equal over 2 levels towards your final trait. Now you're not going to see this sort of performance so early in the first phase because knowledge levels won't be that high, but you can be sure there are going to be a handful of folks who will push for this anyway. Keep in mind though, it's guesstimated one would have wrapped up their bronze farming well before this point, and this guide is just taking you through the motions of powering up. I'm going to tuck this back here, but here are more details on the infinite knowledge gains you can achieve during Phase 1, which is mostly covered if you've been following my advice on leveling and Phase 1 endgame. You want to complete 100 world quests. Defeat 50 empowered enemies on Heroic World tier. Complete all the Broken Isles dungeons on at least normal difficulty. Complete the Emerald Nightmare and Trial of Valor in any difficulty. And finally complete the Sojourner achievements in all 5 zones. Again, that's all the side quests. There's also a multi-stage achievement to earn more infinite power to receive more knowledge. A goal to maybe set for yourself is to farm 5 million artifact power in these first 2 weeks. Now, it's kind of a ridiculous amount, but if you're crazy enough to do it, don't worry, you're actually only 1/10 of the way towards maxing out the final artifact trait, and at this date, you'll probably have finished farming up all your bronze too. That's the Phase 1 guide, and in a few weeks I'll produce a similar guide that'll include more details and any new additional information that's announced. And as we really get into it, you can expect mini guides to the other phases in our weekly reminder videos. Please like this one if it's useful, subscribe for more WoW coverage, catch me live, and I'll catch you later. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.